Yep. What going on? What going on? Welcome to another live streamed episode of A Different Day.
Can't hear your audio gone.
I could hear you just fine. Hold up. Come out and come back in, because I don't know why this happened. Come out. All right, let me do this over again. I don't know why that happened. All right, let's try this one more time. I'll run that back. Yep. Welcome to another live streamed episode of A Different Day. My co-host is currently out sick, so please send her your well wishes. We got a great show for you today. It is election season. Yay! It's election season in the USVI. We watch the latest candidate interviews ahead of the election, and we will review them for you, so you don't have to. They're kind of long, but you can still remain informed. Still go back, check out VI Consortium for the full interviews. I want to introduce my first guest to you. I think he's coming back in, so we're going to get into it as soon as he rejoins. And there he is. You can hear me now?
Oh, yeah, we locked and loaded.
All right. King Sosa VI in the building. Hey.
Yeah. You say, my brother?
There. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you coming on such short notice, because my damn co-host canceled on me like a couple hours ago, and I was like, damn.
Yeah, more fees lab, bro. You know, sometimes when you're doing the good lads work, we don't get little hiccups, you know what I mean? But hey, I here for you, bro. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that, because it was very last minute, and I don't like to do it that way. But hey, when it happened, man.
Yeah, man. So I as prepared as can be, you know, with a little disclaimer.
So go ahead and tell the people who you are, what you're into, and why you're here.
Well, my name is DT Danley Peterson King Sosa. Sosa is actually my name from, you know, my poetry vibes. It stands for Sovereign of Self-Awareness. And you know, my poetry is real. It's conversation starting. It's my journey, my path, and you know, speaking about my journey and my path. You know, I life threw some curveballs my way, some lemons, and instead of, you know, sitting and sulking, I decided to, you know, kind of rebrand myself with God's guidance, and you know, birth the Brotherhood Collective, and we will be out in the community doing a lot of good works, you know what I mean? So I keep our eyes open. We coming.
Yeah. So the Brotherhood Collective, as soon as I saw what the mission was on, I was all about it, because it's similar to a lot of stuff that I've been wanting to get into. So I was very proud and glad to see the Brotherhood Collective coming, and I'm willing to do whatever needs to be done to help that brand grow for sure, because the VI for sure needs it, and we need to be mentoring and investing in our men and our boys. I don't think we do that enough. I know, yes, strong Black woman, and we here for you. We love our women and stuff, but the men seem to be falling short, and we need to invest in them as well for the community to grow and flourish.
Correct. Well, you know, we don't, especially men being, or young leaders being raised by single mothers, you know, like you said, is nothing but love and respect to single mothers. A job, because that's what it is. It's a job, you know, and it's one that no matter how much flowers or praises that we sing to mothers, it can't really be enough, you know. So what I saw was a gap, and that gap was, you know, the behavior that we've seen in our young men is a result of them not being able to communicate, not having certain tools to develop that emotional awareness, intelligence, and everything else that just develops around a well-rounded individual. You know what I mean? So this mission here is God driven, God bought, is purposeful. You know, I wasn't the easiest myself. You know, there are a lot of things that I have done in my past that I am not proud of, but I could be accountable for my missteps. I really don't live life with regret because you know, everything that I have done, whether positive or negative, it got me to where I am today. You know what I mean? And yeah, you can't grow if you ain't coming out the door. You know what I mean? So you have to start someplace.
Love that. Yo, let me heal up who there in the chat. Don't forget to please share the live. Tell people that we're live streaming. Keita, what are you saying? Keita on the track in the building. Afternoon. Jerica, you're here on time. You're here on time. Good afternoon. What's going on? This a different day for real. Naisha there in the building. She said she loved that. Hey, Naisha, you looking good.
Hey, you trying to be my cousin or what, ja? You trying to be cousin la? Eh? Welcome you to the family, bro. You know what I mean? I don't black on them thing, you know.
I just seen that, like, she had the little graduation thing, big up on that there. I seen the video. I was like, wait, this girl aging backwards, man. Okay,
man. We don't. That's the breed. That's the breed. When I tell people my age, they can't believe I'm 45, bro.
It's crazy. No shade, but hey, I've been seeing our graduation thing, and a lot of them children look old. Like, and I'll be like, yo, I was looking like that in high school. Can't be. These children look old. Hey, but big up ourselves. Go ahead and share the live. We're gonna get into it, man. With no further ado, we're gonna jump into it with the good news. You know how we do it here. First, we want to shout out the Iron Bartender competition from the Rotary Club of St. Croix. This past weekend, they just had the Iron Bartender competition. Congratulations to our 2026 Iron Bartender champion. A huge congratulations to Juan Sains, this year's Iron Bartender Master Mixologist, for taking home the top prize and earning the title of Iron Bartender 2026. Thank you to all of our bartenders, sponsors, volunteers, judges, and attendees who made this event another incredible success. Community spirit make a powerful combination. The shaker has settled, the scores are in, and a new champion has been crowned. Congratulations, Juan. Enjoy the bragging rights, the title, and that well-earned $3,000 prize check. Juan says,
Big up yourself, Juan Sanes.
I don't know how to pronounce it. It could be wrong.
Yeah, I was trying to help you out. Without you know what I mean? You let it cut out the bag.
Me either. Hey, listen, I just struggle through these names every week, dog.
I got you, bro.
I don't know who these people are, but hey, that must be the host. And one back there waiting to get money. And he couldn't be prouder. I'm happy for you. Big up yourself, Juan Sanes. Good looks to Primo to winning for sure. Sanes, friend. Hey, congratulations, man. What else you got? We got some more good news. Ain't done yet. We want to big up the BVI's own. She doing it big. I don't know if y'all heard about her. UGA freshman Adeja Hodge from the BVI punched her ticket to the 2026 NCAA Division I Outdoor Track and Field Championships in multiple events when she clocked times of 10.90 seconds in the 100 meter, 22.09 in the 200, and helped the 4x100 team cross the line in 42.40 seconds, competing at the NCAA Division I Track and Field East first rounds in Lexington, Kentucky, May 27th to the 30th. Want to congratulate her also. Pick up a
yeah, man, them times is blistering times, bro.
Yeah,
10 seconds in 100.
She's setting records. I've been doing it.
She's moving.
Hey, big up. And in more BVI news, we got a hotel. We got a hotel. Hotel Castle Maria, you just saw it. 4 rooms at Hotel Castle Maria have been declared a prison. McNamara Tortola, VI, 4 rooms at Hotel Castle Maria have been declared a prison by acting Governor David D. Archer Jr. According to the instrument gazetted on May 19, 2026, Mr. Archer Jr. proclaimed and declared that rooms 311, 315, and 317, and the room referred to as the rec room, being part of the premises, known as Hotel Castle Maria, situated at McNamara Tortola, are declared to be a prison for the purposes of Prison Ordinance CAP 166. So if you didn't know, in the BVI, this hotel, they have some rooms that are labeled as a prison because according to their laws, the governor can actually just declare a place a prison. Now the rest of the rooms are good. So just in case you want a vacation. Hey.
Bro, so you telling me I go in Tola and I go and book a hotel, and say if I stay in room 310, room 311, 312, and these, no man, I gotta be paying like $50 a day for my room.
Hey, don't go in the rec room. You're now an inmate.
I telling you.
So according to their laws, that's some power that the governor has. And it's crazy because a lot of us don't know the power these senators and governors and stuff have, you know. And they'll reach back in these old dusty books and pull out something out the blue that you didn't even know existed. So I think we all need to look into that there, because
like eminent, that sounds like eminent domain.
Check. And the hotel's still going, you know.
Yeah.
But maybe they pay them well. I don't know about that. It might be giving them a little
probably some kind of compensation.
And you know, the government, when they pay you, they'll pay more than your regular rate. So
correct.
And into the VI news. These YouTube. Hey, wagwan. Oh boy, these YouTube comments always get me, Dad. With approximately $25 billion in federal disaster recovery and infrastructure funds committed to the USVI, lawmakers and business leaders gathered on St. Croix on Friday to ask whether the rebuilding will truly transform the territory's economy or simply fuel a short-lived construction boom that collapses once federal spending winds down. At the 2026 Economic Development Summit, hosted by the 36 legislatures Committee on Economic Development and Agriculture and chaired by Senator Hubert L. Frederick, senators, agency heads, contractors, energy executives, and nonprofit leaders met under the theme From Recovery to Renaissance. Throughout the day, panels examined whether post-hurricane reconstruction, infrastructure upgrades, and economic development projects can translate into lasting gains in jobs, local ownership, and economic resilience. The discussion repeatedly returned to a central concern: whether the VI has the workforce, business capacity, and infrastructure to absorb and sustain a surge of federally funded rebuilding work. Speakers pointed to 3 interconnected pressures: a shrinking population, high operating costs, and limited local contracting capacity that they said could determine whether the recovery becomes a turning point or a temporary spike. One of the sharpest pressure points was the territory's workforce shortage. Bureau of Economic Research Director Haldane Davies told lawmakers that as peak construction years approach around 2027 to 2029, Virgin Islands will need thousands more workers on top of an already constrained labor pool, even as population levels have fallen sharply over the past decade. He attributed the decline to the closure of the Hovensa refinery, the 2017 hurricanes, and the COVID-19 pandemic, which together accelerated the loss of residents to the states. Labor Commissioner Gary Malloy underscored the scale of the gap. He cited a study by the RAND Corporation, a nonprofit policy research organization that provides economic and workforce analysis for governments, estimating that the territory will be short between 5,000 and 7,000 workers, even if every employable Virgin Islander is working. We are not going to be able to do this ourselves, he said, arguing that outside labor will be required in the near term as the territory rebuilds its own workforce pipeline. Now, DT, I
That's
know
it.
you've been there through COVID, the hurricanes, the Hovensa shutting down, and when Hovensa was lit, lot of money man got made.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been one of them.
You see? So tell me, what do you think about this economic development plan, and like where do they even start, you think?
Um, well, first of all, I really want to commend Commissioner Gary Malloy from the Department of Labor. I think with the resources that he's been provided, he's been doing an excellent job. So hats off to him first and foremost. Um, he absolutely right. We gonna fall way short, if we don't have some kind of incentives for our people abroad to return home other than a job, people ain't gonna really come. So when I talk in incentives, I mean we incentivize a lot of things as far as economic development and giving tax breaks to people coming to invest. So I mean, what's so hard in giving some tax breaks, whether it's the taxes on them buying a home, those incentivize moving home. And let we see how we can make a dent in that, because for me, I would really like to see as much money remain in the Virgin Islands as possible. You know, we have it hard. It's extremely hard. And this opportunity here, if it's mishandled, we won't really reap the benefits that we're supposed to reap. Okay. There are places like Hawaii who lost their cultural identity because of things like this happening. These workers might come and I ain't saying it's a negative thing. I'm not speaking in the negative. But what can and will happen is half of them might not leave. They might turn this into their residence. And like I said, I'm not speaking negatively. I just thinking about the people that would interested in coming back home as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's very layered, and it's a great opportunity. Not only to rebuild St. Croix, but bring some kind of stability back to the place. You know what I mean?
For
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Now, the thing about it, like every single opportunity creates another issue, though. Because
Hmm.
I don't know where the senators should start. Because, for one, you short 5 to 7,000 employees, but you also short housing.
Correct.
Right? So, Naisha said, where will these people stay? You already have a shortage of housing. And then with the incentives, you know how VI people is. You give people
Mhm.
that not from St. Croix or local or whatever incentives to come, they're gonna complain about that. Why
Well,
about we? Why about the local then?
one thing I learned is you're gonna always have people complaining and naysayers. So every program, it's aimed to align and reach who is supposed to. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a tough one. So now, before we could even assess, like they said, where people gonna stay.
Yeah,
So now locals might end up being displaced because now they're paying
exactly.
higher rent, and it's gonna turn into a nasty kind of gentrification over this thing. You know what I mean? And I don't think Synchro is necessarily the place to play those games.
Let me ask y'all in the comments, right? Because I'll put it on the screen. Where do you think the shortage of employees should come from? I think they should already be doing incentives to get people who are from the VI living abroad and want to come home. I think they should have already been investing in that thing. Because first of
Right.
all, where's the training? You want people to come back, where's the training? Why not build a training facility, right? That also houses people there while they're being trained. Not like kind of like Job Corps, but not.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I
Like
understand what you're saying. You
because
got you got training. Department of Labor, they offer the core training. After you take your core classes, then you could go on to your specifics like electrician, all the different fields that are required. You know what I mean? Department of Labor does offer training in those specific fields, but then again, the problem when these guys get an electrician 1 or 2 certificates is job opportunities, experience.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we
And
have to try walk on that pipeline from training directly into experience as well.
and there's gonna need to be some sort of contract or something for giving people the training that gonna keep them here. Because what's stopping them from leaving immediately after?
Correct. And that's part of the incentive. I can remember back in the day, like if Hovensa paid for or paid for piece of your college or whatever advanced education you were seeking, they would have to get a return on the investment, whether you guarantee employment for a year, something had to happen behind it,
Which makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense. If I'm investing in you, you're gonna want a ROI. You're gonna want some sort of return on your investment. It makes sense.
Exactly.
They give tax breaks to these companies that give nothing back, afford the people better incentives for real, bring fresh, innovative minds to push us forward. Going back to just after Irma Maria in 2017, people came down and housing skyrocketed and never became the same. That does happen when there's a job that's paying a lot of money. Like people flock to that area, and then the housing and everything. So it can actually price out locals, which is something that we should be talking about and thinking about these sort of things. I would have liked to have gone to that conference to see what they really saying. But yeah, each solution creates another problem along with the opportunity.
Correct. Like I said, it was this legislative hearing, and a contractor wanted to build some housing over in St. Thomas because he had some foresight as to where these people gonna stay, and his main gripe was that the contractors are going to be able to leave with the housing money, and that's kind of true as well. So like, there's opportunities in this, if people would just believe in collaboration and moving smart with unity and a oneness,
Right. Too much people sitting in the leadership positions that aren't producing, replace them with people who are willing and able. What about those who are there and want work? They go to these trainings, but then no job placement. So you end up in a loop, but it's also, you don't have enough employees, even if you take everybody. So that's crazy. Job placement and livable wages is a top issue. It'll be good if labor continued that skills for today program they had going on. Another thing that I've noticed, right? You don't know what you don't know. And there may be programs on all of these things that you can get the training, you could get a house, you could get all this stuff. But it's like, where do you go to find out all of that stuff? Or how do you find out if you don't already know about it?
Yeah, you have to inquire, starting with Department of Labor, because there, like you said, there are some hidden gems out there. All right, so I would encourage any young man that's seeking training and wants to prepare himself for the upcoming job boom. It's not too late. Get started,
Facts. All right, on to VI housing. Speaking of housing, the VI Housing Authority is moving urgently to improve its occupancy rate before a June 30th federal funding benchmark, as officials confront a large number of vacant units. But there's a housing shortage, right? All right. They're trying to confront a large number of vacant units, expired classifications, and the possibility that some subsidy funds may have to be returned to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. During VIHA's board meeting on Wednesday, Executive Director Dwayne Alexander told commissioners that the authority's current portfolio occupancy stands at 84.07%. below HUD's benchmark of approximately 92%. The gap, he explained, carries serious implications because occupancy affects subsidy calculations, management fees, bookkeeping fees, and the agency's broader financial position. Mr. Alexander said the authority is working to address the issue before June 30th, the date by which occupancy levels will help determine how future subsidies are calculated. He said VIHA is pursuing temporary remedies, including exemptions, while also trying to move units back into active use. According to the report presented at the meeting, VIHA currently has 307 units under maintenance rehab, 147 units in the modernization pipeline, and 210 units under demolition or disposition status. Yeah, 600. Mr. Alexander said the recent drop in occupancy was significantly affected by units whose prior exemption or modernization classification expired, placing them back into the occupancy calculation and lowering the authority's rate. Board Commissioner Dina Perry Malone pressed the executive director on how the issue occurred and whether it could have been handled differently to avoid such a sudden negative impact. Mr. Alexander acknowledged that there were issues that need to be reviewed, but said the immediate priority is correcting the situation before the June 30 deadline. Asked about the financial implications, Mr. Alexander said there may be subsidy funds that have to be returned to HUD for units that should not have received subsidy. Even a relatively small repayment would create pressure, he suggested, given how closely VIHA is currently managing its finances. The occupancy concern is part of a broader financial challenge facing the authority. Mr. Alexander said VIHA's Section 8 program, while high performing, is operating at approximately 67% utilization because the agency's budget authority is maxed out. That means hundreds of vouchers that could otherwise generate administrative and bookkeeping fees are not being used. Same problem exists in public housing, he said, where vacant units reduce the management and bookkeeping fees VIHA would normally receive. It's time to do something totally different, or you can continue to end up with the same results. Mr. Alexander told commissioners, the agency's current position is especially sensitive because VIHA has been working to move out of trouble status. Mr. Alexander said he is hopeful that the authority's next scores, typically released in June, will allow VIHA to breathe a little bit. However, he warned that leaving trouble status is not enough if the agency falls back into the same patterns. Mr. Alexander said the authority must become more disciplined and financially strategic, particularly as federal support for public housing tightens. He has separately called for the legislature to establish a minimum $5 million revolving a $5 million revolving fund for VIHA, noting that the agency's regular budget is 100% federally funded and that the authority is one of the territory's largest low-income housing providers. The executive director also warned that shifting housing authority funding under local estate rule would place a tremendous strain on the territory, describing VIHA as a $60 million agency. So you got over 600 units down. You got 67% for Section 8 occupancy.
That's crazy, bro. Because you know why that's crazy to me? Because I know a lot of mothers out here that have been on them lists forever. You know what I mean? I know people that thank years and even when they do get called, they get called and then they get turned back. Or some other craziness happen. Is a lot of red tape that needs to be removed in that process, along with more oversight needs to happen, because you know you kind of bragging about being a $60 million budget brand at the government, but where's the foresight?
Exactly.
Why do we always wait until funds looking to go back to scream and hit the panic button?
Naisha says, because those apartments have income limits, not everybody qualifies. We need to take a look at that too, though.
That's the red tape. That's the red tape as well, because what they really need to look at is the cost of living wrong here. Because it's not because, and look at the jobs, bro. They don't pay $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, require a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD for those jobs, and then GRS hitting you for like 20% of your check before even pre-tax, but still is a hit. You know what I mean? So like, what you to really take home?
Agriculture just got a raise last year that they weren't getting paid. I found out that the raise was to 30 something $1,000. What? What? So you were getting 20 something thousand?
Bro, let me tell you something. Let me explain something. At my time at Waste Management, and this ain't no cap, I gonna say, I had employees there working for Waste Management over 20 years dealing with raw sewage, and these guys won't making $20 an hour yet.
Jesus Christ.
That's our sanitation, bro. These people keeping this thing in the pipe so we ain't getting sick. That's hazardous pay. That's you know.
Yeah.
We really need to fix that, man.
They don't care. They sit in these positions and barely do anything. Many of these people in housing came from America. Honestly, this is a vacation for them. So how they end up with over 600 units empty then? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, that's people applying, saying they have these units available, and you know, now they have this plethora of units and operating at a 67% occupancy or whatever the number was. That's kind of crazy, man. People are hurting. We getting people in houses, man. I mean, anybody listening, he said they're going to try to fast track the process. You know, I would head over to VIHA and see what I look like.
And then they have houses or apartments or whatever that are down, being rehabbed. A good percentage of them are being rehabbed or upgraded, and then it's like, damn, some gotta give, man.
Yeah.
y'all gotta push for either for getting people into the houses or hurry up and getting them fixed.
Yeah, I see they fix up the houses in red brick.
Yeah,
and you know, I think it was like the cost for like 20 something million for 20 apartments, like $1 million an apartment or something like that. That was, yeah,
I'm about to quit my job and see if they'll let me put them again. Cause they look nice. I ain't gonna lie to you. They upgraded. I'll get on that.
Waterfront property.
The lowest pay for agriculture was 26 to 27,000. My God, to work outside in the sun. Some of those units are like Duno in St. Thomas and Red Brick here on St. Croix. Yeah. We are too top heavy in our government. That's why those wages don't move. And then the senators want to get raises, and the governor and lieutenant governor want to get raises. Like, you not break, man. Are you making the most money compared to any senator or governor of any state? We ain't even a state.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, 1 million per. Yeah, man, that's inflation. I mean,
that's exactly.
Not just agriculture, VI governor in general. How the hell you to start people off at 26K in
that's
the VI?
crazy. That's 1980s wages.
That's Dollar General pay, man. Stop that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Ballers.
I think it's a good time for me to announce that we are open. We're open. Our DMs are open. Go ahead, and if you know a person running for office or wants to talk about their political platform, they're free to come on. We will not be sugarcoating or asking any stupid dummy questions. This will be real questions. So if they can't handle the heat, it's best to stay out the kitchen. I'm okay with that also.
Hard press.
All right, let's move into this Senate race. It's been very messy.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody recently, they've been messing around with AI, and they came up with a 36th legislature senator accomplishment ranking, and I thought it was interesting. So I want to go over there and see if you agree or disagree. After reviewing verified public legislative records, committee leadership roles, bill activity, fiscal impact, oversight efforts, and community involvement from the 36th legislature of the United States Virgin Islands, this independent ranking highlights the senators making the biggest legislative impact so far. This ranking was created using publicly available legislative data, including bill sponsorship and passage, committee leadership, budget and fiscal influence, oversight and accountability efforts, community impact, collaboration within the legislature. Congratulations to all senators recognized for their public service and contributions to the people of the VI. Rankings are based on verified records and are intended for informational, public discussion purposes only, and that's what we're about to do. What do you think about this ranking? Number 1, Carla Joseph gets a 92.3 out of 100. The last person is Dwayne DeGraff. He gets 58. Look over the list. Tell me what you think.
Okay, so you got Carla first. You have Nobel second. Look like Milton Pata third.
Yeah.
Kurt Viale fourth. That's Pupa in fifth place, eh?
Wait for a second. Number 5.
Okay. The top 5 to me, I saw this post, you know, and I was trying to better understand the metric used to come up with the ranking. I think they said something like bills pass or yeah, they had a list of metrics that they use, you know. I would be careful in using AI as the only source, you know. I have myself have traversed the AI world, and some of the things that I've been told by chat, you know, weren't true, weren't factual at all sometimes, you know. So with the source being what it is, I really don't agree with the list, you know. I think you know, for me, and I think it should be this way for everybody. You should look at these hearings. You should pay attention to what's really going on. You should you know, pay attention to the bills being passed, and not just the bills being passed, but the impact that those bills would have, you know. And we have priorities here when it comes to the things that we need infrastructure wise. Who really attacking the priorities, you know? To me, that's a big part of ranking as well. I will say that I think both Kurt Viale and Milton Pata have done extraordinary job. And see, I don't like, and we got some freshman candidates in there as well, you know.
Yeah.
And then you also have people that were part of the minority in the Senate. So if you are part of the minority, you really gotta come with a grand bill for it to get passed sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So so like I said, it got a lot to the list, but I will say I give you my top 5.
Okay.
I give you my top 5. In no particular order, I would say Marvin Blyden has done a good job. Milton Pata, Kurt Viale, well, you put me on the spot.
You volunteered, you know.
You know, you put me on the spot. With the list gone, come down.
Hold up.
Wow. I think Maurice James also do a good job, but I won't necessarily pour in the top 5. I'm sorry. One thing I must say is Frankie Johnson, his growth has impressed me as a legislator. You know?
Think number 14 was unfair to him?
Yeah, I think Frankie should have been a bit higher than that. You know, sometimes people get the grandstanding confused with good politics, and I ain't one of them. Okay. You know, in watching these, because I pay attention to the hearings, you know, I like decorum. I don't like the grandstanding and the waste of time. yeah, let's get on to the meat of it. Let's
Correct.
not disrespect each other. Let's be professional, respect your colleagues, and do the work that the people paying you to do.
So before we get into the real reason you're here today, I just want to say this, right?
Yeah.
I could never be in politics because it seems as if the system is meant to function in dysfunction, and I don't like that. You get people together to elect a whole 15 mother 15.
Yeah. It's a big number.
That's a huge number. You get 15 people making 80 something thousand and up a year.
That's 1 point something million. Keep going.
And you got them arguing and making posts trying to be petty and complaining because they got like the man.
I can't stand it. I can't stand
You
it.
can't even get a town hall.
Yeah, like why you as a senator, I don't even feel like you should be on social media too much with your views.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Like
Going back and forth.
Exactly. Like what we doing here? You know?
I think there's been a loss of respect and esteem for the role, and it's more about power and you know what I'm saying than it should be instead of service.
Exactly, because that's what you are. You're a public servant. You know what I mean? You're a public servant. You're not a king. They say no kings there around here. You know what I mean?
Derek, I said bring them down to minimum wage. You would have 0 senators. You will go from 15 to 0 immediately.
I mean, you get what you pay for. So if we balling, but what we have now, imagine if we drop it to minimum wage.
Exactly. But why they ain't the ones making 27 to 37,000 a year?
Fair question.
Well,
Fair
all right.
question.
We gonna get into it. Like I said, I've watched all 3 of the VI consortium's interviews. I know you had checked out Bianca Acevedo Francis's, and we want to talk about it. They lost track of what the position entails because we've let them. The people have let them. We've put them on a pedestal when they're just people.
Correct. We ain't holding them accountable at all. We just writing whatever they give. They're supposed to give us what we demand, and we haven't been demanding a thing.
All right. We're going to start where the consortium started, and that's with the premier senator, because what I found funny about, like, VLA, after I watched the entire thing, and he was what he should be. Impressive, poised, clear in
senator,
and experienced. His experience shown through the entire thing, as it should.
Mm-hmm.
So the first question off the bat that struck me, right, was one that should have been asked. And it was basically, sir, why didn't you run for governor? For governor is what you should have done, because there was a vote that come out, the people spoke in the poll. The people said you the number one. Imagine being number one for something you ain't running for. And he still decided to go senator. So check out what he has to say about that.
Yeah.
And then I'll have you weigh in. Why didn't you run for governor, Senator VLA?
Run, but you were number one, right? You decided, however, not to run for governor. Obviously, there are people who wanted you to run. What would you say to those people, and why did you decide not to run for governor?
One of the hardest decisions that I have had to make in the last couple of years. I debated back and forth as to whether or not I wanted to join the governor's race again, or whether or not I should run back for a Senate seat. But when I looked at everything that entails the governorship and being back in the Senate, I became quite worried about the island of St. Croix and quite worried about representation for the island of St. Croix, seeing that a number of senior individuals had already opted not to run back for the Senate. And I looked as to whether or not the Senate can actually make a change in this community and overwhelmingly, I know that the Senate can make a change. I have used the analysis of some individuals that one of the most successful senators was Earl B. Ackley, who literally.
All right, Sosa. What are your thoughts on that? What he said here?
I would have liked him to get into a bit more detail as to I mean, because he said why he rather stay in the senatorial race, but I'd like to hear the comparison to the gubernatorial seat, because I mean, yeah, you're saying you feel you could be of more service to the island of St. Croix being a senator. I don't know if I buy it.
You don't buy it.
I don't think I buy it. I think being a democratic governor, the people's choice, I feel personally, especially being able to bring your own cabinet members in to these different departments. No, I think you could probably make way more noise as a governor.
Okay. Now he says, I think it was because he couldn't find a good running mate. He's correct. Our representation seems non-existent when it comes to St. Croix. He's been our representation for 10 years. I think he's speaking in regards to funding. Nah, the question was clear. Why didn't you run? The people wanted you to run for governor. Why didn't you run? We don't have mayors and all the other smaller positions that work closer to the community that gives a better grasp of who's accountable for what. All right, I'm going to say something. Let me read my disclaimer. The views and opinions on this show do not necessarily reflect the views of the broadcaster, aka 101.3 Raw FM. These are solely my opinions, and if you have an issue with them, please bring them to me and me alone. All right. I believe after watching that interview, he did not run because it wasn't a guarantee that he would win, and if he lost, he wouldn't have his seat. His seat is damn near assured. His seat as a senator, this whole
That's
thing,
a good point.
He already has it. He may not say it out loud because that wouldn't play well, but that Senate seat for Viale is assured.
Yeah, locked.
Now, he may have done it for the right reasons, because if he did not get the governor and missed out, where he said something similar in the show, in the episode, where he said, we're too close. We're at a pivotal point, the Virgin Islands, to where if he believes if he isn't in that seat, at least, we're done.
Yeah, he did say that, and that is very, very, very revealing. Maybe he got a bit of PTSD.
From when he had lost his governorship.
Yeah, and because we do need a man like Viale in there. I mean,
I would have liked to see the man in the governor's seat, because he would have had. Okay, he says later on in the interview, right? He says later on in the interview. Well, I have the clip. I'll show it to you. Let me read this one. They had that choice 4 years ago, and they decided to vote the other way. That's that PTSD you're talking about.
Yep, that's it right there.
Okay. He can't do it alone, which is why I did not understand the idea that if I become a senator, I could help. I could really help among the other 14, among the other 6 for St. Croix District. I would be able to help better. I didn't get that.
Yeah.
All our St. Croix senators are never on one accord for our island, and that's crazy. That's why I don't understand why senator is a good position. You gotta fight against 6 other people. That's just for your district.
We had a comment talking about accountability, and I always think creating districts and letting the senators run by district and each district holding that senator accountable is the way to go. This way to create accountability.
Now, I had mentioned that he said why he didn't run for governor, right? And it was contradictory to me, because he also said this when asked about, do we have the legislation in place? He said this.
Think, because a lot of the responsibility, and rightfully so, is placed on the governor. But do you think the past legislatures, do you think they've been doing the job of bringing forth economic development in the territory? When last have we had a hotel on St. Croix?
Well, we have the legislation, but it is incumbent upon the executive branch. They're the one that's supposed to be going out there. They're the one that's supposed to be literally marketing the island.
So you think we have...
So you check what I'm saying? You see, I'm not tripping, right?
Yeah, nah, you ain't tripping, because like if you feel that way about the executive branch and you're highlighting the exact need and the necessity, for to have somebody with your competency level in there, why not do it?
You check, like, if the issue has been, you've been in office for 10 years, a decade, intermittent, albeit, but a good bit of that time, you just said the legislation is there. We have plenty, we got a lot. The problem is the governor is not pushing it through. But then you went back to be a senator like you've always been?
Yeah. And like I said, I didn't, the only interview I seen was Bianca, so that is fresh to me. This reaction here, this is the first time I seen that, and yeah, it's confusing.
Yeah, it was, and don't get me wrong, this interview, this was a crisp interview. This went very well. Like, the man did his thing on that interview. I'm just saying, like, as me interpreting what's being said, because I can't speak to him directly unless he comes on the show. I could only just kind of, take what he says and interpret. The Senate is going to need experienced leadership. He brings that. The Senate has a lot of power to push us forward. Has he not been leading before, or does he need that Senate president to actually lead? Like, what are we saying, though? You see, here come there. There's much more nuance. Of course there is. Of course there is. People have to understand the three branches of government. I don't
Break
think
it down for them, Darren. Executive, legislative, and judicial. You go
ahead
and
tell us. Because I don't think that's the discussion we're having right now, but okay. He understands it. I'm trying to understand, why didn't you run, sir? The people wanted you.
Yeah, correct. You were clearly the front runner. I agree. And we have seen that before, where people run and don't get in, and the next time they run, they're the clear-cut winner.
The Senate, by separation of powers, cannot make the governor executive branch do their job. All it could be is a back and forth with vetoing and all of that other stuff. Yeah, we agree.
We understand.
We agree with you. We agree with you, bro. Now, here's a clip that I know gonna be near and dear to your heart, a topic that you really serious about. Here's what Senator Vialli had to say regarding SGVI. I agree with him. Don't shoot me. Don't kill me. But I agree with what he said here.
I feel like you line me up,
No, but this, yeah, I tell you, the interview was good, but this part he broke it down well. But you be the judge.
Time ago, know that what's happening. Let's pivot a little bit. This is a serious matter with the horse racing issue. The Brown administration and Southland giving, of course, some things on the table, legislation. You know it thoroughly. We've had some discussions about it. You oppose the measure in its current form, right? The administration would argue it's 12 years now, or so, over 10 years and counting, that we haven't had horse racing on St. Croix.
Correct.
VIGL has failed. Here's a company putting $20 million or so on the table. The current measure, you don't agree with it. Is there, what bill would you agree with that would still see Southland in business on St. Croix with the horse racing?
There's always a fix to anything. And just about every contract or major proposal that came down, the Senate has tweaked. The lime tree, we tweaked the rack rate. They wanted to charge whatever. We said no. You're not going to charge whatever you want for the rack rate. You're going to charge us the cost of getting the product here, plus no more than 10% markup so that we can control prices on Syncroid. So we did that. The special purpose vehicle, we put in language. After 5 tries, we put in language that mandated that it was going to go to the retirement system. We were able to make the system a bit more solvent. It didn't go belly up. So we did that. With this particular agreement, there's language in the bill that says that VLT will come to Syncroid. It's going to be under the lottery. It's going to go under the same system of self-regulation where they report to lottery how much money they make. They report everything to lottery, but lottery don't actually regulate them. So that is one component that I want to see change. Whatever gaming is going to be expanded in the Virgin Islands need to be regulated. And need to be regulated by an entity outside of that gaming industry. So VLT can't regulate VLTs. Casino.
All right. What do you think about that? Talk to us.
I think he absolutely correct.
Okay.
No, he absolutely correct. My whole thing is, when you come to the negotiating table, you don't expect somebody best half it. Okay? You don't expect somebody to say, well, I gonna invest $20 million and I gonna make the best concessions I can for you while I invest $25 million. I don't know of any negotiation that ever started that way. All right. So there's always a baseline and a working document, something to walk off of and build towards. The same thing he talking about with Lime Tree. So this ain't nothing new. My whole thing and the issue was, the whole bonnet down talk and everything that was happening, when the news was brokered. And I still absolutely feel that way. Caravel had possession of that place for how long? They had a Racino there. To me, there's no real difference between VLTs and the Racino. You know what I mean? It's all video gaming.
Yeah.
If you go to Caravel Casino, there are no dealers in there.
Yeah.
You don't have no dealers down there in Caravel.
Yeah, it's true.
So there, when you talk about the casino and the hotel industries and that whole agreement and what that was for, then let's look at Caravel. Because from what I understood, we made concessions to Caravel as well when coming to the casino laws. They were supposed to have a certain amount of rooms and build out a state room or conference room. And I remember, I think Map was the governor then, and he was totally against it. But the measure passed, So, Caravel itself, we made concessions to them. So, with that track staying on for almost 10 years, I and other people run the place, tired of feeding animals for free, This part of our culture, bro.
I understand.
Yeah, this part of our culture, whether it's understood across the board or not, that has track has kept so many kids out of the streets. It has sent P.D. Prentice, even same Mahal, Kevin Kreger, my boy Cajun, all these man right now we name Williams. These man riding in the States. It got how much trainers, handlers, groomers right now have livable wages because of this craft. So I don't want to hear nobody talking like this just some entertainment industry. It's not. It's real money behind this thing. So now when you're talking about Syncroid and what we have and what SGVI talking about as in regards to the amount of pauses and everything that they want to bring, yeah, let's tweak it. Let's make sure we get it best bang for our buck. But don't throw this thing to the side, man. You know what I mean? Like we need this. We need this. If you're really paying attention to the horse racing scene around the Caribbean, horse racing taking off. You got all kind of little islands racing horse right now.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm glad that you are here, because like you're one of the people that we don't see in these meetings. You know what I'm saying? When they're talking about it, that's actually affected by it. I see now you have horses for real.
Yeah, I don't know about them. I don't hear about them last minute, or you know what I mean, the day after. You know what I'm saying? So this is something that's been in like Naisha they commenting. Her father teach me so much. But as I raised up wrong this man, her father been like my father, you understand? So the things that he instilled in me, the amount of books that he had on these animals, most of my childhood memories surround horses. These animals, the camaraderie built on the track, meeting people, you know what I'm saying? So like, we gotta bring it back, man.
Yeah, and I'm all for it. I hear what he's saying, you know what I mean? Like, if the contract ain't no good, that ain't good for the community. And then there's the issue of this, because of Southland Gaming being a monopoly of the whole thing. So if you're gonna risk that, the deal need to be worth it for real.
Yeah, correct.
So correct. I agree.
They need to up some money to the hospitals, or you know what I mean, because we have a lot of infrastructure needs. So
no more of them
this as a bargaining chip. They want what they want, and we need what we need.
All right. Hey, on that note, we got one more clip from VLA. We're gonna move on because we got two more candidates we gotta talk about. So he was asked also about his commentary about St. Croix dying slowly. This we're gonna talk about it after. Check this out.
We're gonna get this to the legislature.
You know, it's very frustrating. You said something, you know, important. It's a little or something serious, rather. Some words. You said the island in particular, St. Croix in particular, is dying slowly. I want you to elaborate on that, because you know you back and forth. We all back and forth. I'm back and forth between the islands as well. You could see a stark difference in terms of just economic, you know, just commerce.
The activity.
Movement. The activity. It's just night and day. Why do you say our island here is dying slowly, and how do we change that? How do we turn that around?
And that's one of the main reasons why I ran back for the Senate, because I've been pushing for St. Croix for a long period of time, and I gotta continue to push, because a lot of time we allow them to convince us that this shouldn't happen here. So, the example, the airport.
Yeah.
You're doing the airport redevelopment. The monies that they want to spend on St. Thomas is more than 7 times, or at least 7 times what they want to spend on St. Croix.
The P3?
The P3. So it's a minimal amount for St. Croix with some very basic improvements, and then this massive improvement for St. Thomas. So when you have the discussion is always going to be, oh, well, you have less flights. Oh, St. Thomas is it. But how do you change that? So my wife recently went to Mexico with my daughters. They went to a part of Mexico that was built as a tourism destination. They built an airport. They built the surrounding town. They built everything, all the amenities, to market it as a tourism destination. So why can't we do the same thing here?
Yeah.
You know, why can't we really put some money into the airport so that we could say, well, now we could attract flights, where we can put money into different industries, and that's why the Hotel Development Act came along.
Yeah.
So as soon as I pass this now to try to get more hotel development to St. Croix, then you have the P3 that want to limit the airport project. So
at this point, the question isn't even if St. Croix is dying slowly or not. It's why people are denying that there is not the same equitable investment into St. Croix versus the other islands. That's the only question we should be asking at this point. Because for some reason, he's saying this straight. The money, I've seen money get distributed to St. Thomas in lump sums. 7 times more, he said, just for one example. Even for stuff like cutting grass for the schools. St. Croix get more acreage, yet St. Thomas schools gain 3, 4, 5 times more money.
And they instead got no grass.
And ain't get no grass. And nobody wants to explain it, but they'll deny it when you say, hey, there is an equity problem when it comes to funds distribution. The fact that people really still believe, after we seen what we seen, we could see it with our own eyes, especially if you go to both islands, you can see there's a difference. And it has nothing to do with location. The problem is investment. You know why? Because there's also an article out there between the 70s and 80s, around that time, St. Thomas Airport was not long enough. Then investment went to St. Croix Airport. Businesses, hotels, industry started booming in St. Croix. What did they do? They started building back in St. Thomas, the airport, and then it switched again. St. Croix started going down again. It's investment. We are not investing in St. Croix, and it's damn sure not equal or equitable.
Yeah. I completely agree. For years, we have known this rumor to be fact. Okay? When we do open our mouths about it, our counterparts in St. Thomas, okay, we St. Croix and all kind of things, you know what I mean? But it's really something to talk about. 7 times the figure for airport is astronomical. They have, I see the amount of concrete that they have in the garage that they built in St. Thomas, that alone. Okay, I gonna make a point, but this point is not to defend anything that's happening in regards to this. Yeah, there's a difference, in cost of living between the two islands. Everything costs more on St. Thomas for some reason. Construction materials, everything just costs more over there, right? But it still ain't no excuse. I really, sit back and wonder if tourism is the industry that we should be chasing over here in St. Croix. All right. Yeah, we are an island, but culturally we are different from St. Thomas and St. John, from our sister islands, and that's just the reality.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
In that, I think the investments that need to be made are industrial in sense, They're
Agricultural,
yes,
ecological.
yes. We could invest in ourselves right here. I have a game changing idea, This is game changing to the point where I even hesitant to talk about it.
You don't copy it. You should. You don't copy it.
But there's so many innovations, so many advancements in technology, the way we do things. I don't understand why we're building out these solar farms all over the place instead of covering our parking lots. You know what I'm saying? Using solar panels as parking lot covers, and maintaining our land as it is. But that's another conversation to be had. But yeah, back to the tourism now. I don't think that St. Croix is even a tourism island. You know what I'm saying?
It isn't. And I think it's okay to admit that and just say, let them have the tourism. Let's invest in a different way in St. Croix, right? Let's do it differently. There's nothing wrong with that. That way we're not competing.
Correct.
You want agriculture, culture, all of that stuff, go St. Croix. You want the touristy feel, you want to just enjoy the beach and go St. Cool. And we ain't gotta compete, and everybody making money, but no. We ain't doing that. So Ricky Trooper Barbell asked, so who or how do they decide how the monies get split up between the islands? This is just my opinion. Well, first of all, it's always money, right? But the only difference is money given to politicians in the States is called lobbying.
Mm-hmm.
When you do it in the Virgin Islands, it's called a deal or a contract. So I think it's just businesses and companies and all these other big names with money. They're just lobbying for it. And they're lobbying for St. Thomas because it already has it.
Yeah. That's a great point. And that's something that, you know, people forget even exists. Like when you what that show was with what's her name? Kerry Washington? Scandal.
Scandal, they loved it.
Yeah, Scandal really show you how some of these things that go on, and if you think that's just a movie show, you know what I mean, you're mistaken. So, you know, when you have these entities coming in with these lobbyists, and you're lobbying the senators for their votes and their considerations
and donations.
Correct.
And donations. Come on now.
Correct, because you know, we talk about Epstein, but you know, that happens on a when I talk about Epstein, I'm talking about his campaign contribution specifically right now.
It doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Agro-tourism and eco-tourism would thrive on St. Croix. I agree with you.
Yes,
that's what we should be doing. I'm happy to hear you say that. I've been saying for decades that it's one treasury. We should play each island to its strength. Our islands should be complementing, not competing against each other. Just my opinion. We should. I don't know why we're not. They keep pushing tourism. You know what? That's a good point to move on to our next candidate. You said that you saw Bianca's. Speaking
Correct.
of tourism, Miss Bianca Acevedo Francis has a idea for tourism and how we can help St. Croix that was kind of controversial, and I'm gonna play that. See what you think about it.
Medical tourism?
Medical tourism.
Delve in it a little bit deeper for me so I could understand.
So, you know, we have islands like the Dominican Republic, which is known for plastic surgery. We have, you know, Colombia, which now they have like the best dentists. You can get your teeth done there. So why, especially St. Croix, who, yes, we are much more laid back than our sister island, St. Thomas. Medical tourism, I feel, would do well here because people want to recover in paradise. You know, specialized care. So whether it's rehabilitation or any type of specialized care, if we market it where people can recover in paradise, you'll have more people traveling here, you know, to seek that. Plus, you will have that specialized care for our local residents.
In this interview, I'll say this. For one, the interview style, when I went back and I watched VLA's and then hers, it was clearly like it was an interview with VLA. And at one point, like, they were literally finishing each other's sentences. You could tell there's a rapport there. They're like brethren. But the other interviews, they were very aggressive. They were very confrontational, and each one I was like, is this a debate or an interview?
Yep, I totally agree with you. Like I said, I didn't see VLA's interview until just now, but it's a stark contrast to the ones that I did see. You know, and you know, if you hear in the media, if you're gonna have an aggressive style with these candidates, have an aggressive style with everybody. If you're gonna have a laid back demeanor, you keep it so with everybody across the board. You know, I feel that the interview was a bit on the aggressive side, and you're absolutely correct.
This one wasn't even the most aggressive one. It's the next one we hadn't even gotten to that was. But BBL tourism, what do y'all think about it? I think this was she set herself up, right? With this
I
one.
mean, the places that she called Colombia. I mean, I wish she had used some better examples.
So she was getting pressed for funding sources majority of the interview because that is a major issue in the VI. And again, her inexperience tripped her up. Because if you say something like medical tourism, of course, the next thing they're gonna go to is how we gonna do medical tourism, and we barely have a working hospital.
Yeah. I don't think it was really the most. I don't think it was a great moment. I would say this, being in that situation there, you could. It's easy to lose your composure at times, and I think she did a good job, under those circumstances, maintaining her composure. As far as the idea goes, I think we have to clean up our own house majorly first before we could invite anybody over for this.
Facts.
Okay. Our hospital is a mess. From them.
Oh, he went dark on me. That's okay, because look who's here! Hey, look who is here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I saw that you were talking about BBL.
Yeah, BBL tourism, medical tourism. Sorry, that's the correct term. It's medical tourism. That's what we were discussing. But the recovery, I'm assuming what Bianca was talking about was recovery from those sort of procedures. I can only assume because I don't have her here to ask. Oh, good Lord. Can get this out of the way. So, yeah. So now what we're going to do, can we in all the way through the interviews, man? We in all the way through the interviews, but we could switch topics. Private-public partnership for the hospital needs to be explored. Isn't that what's going on with Whopper?
I don't know how much they're exploring public-private partnerships. I mean, part of having the partnership is there has to be money in it somewhere. I've heard that described for the hospital also, there being a public-private partnership, but like a private company is not going to join to an institution that's not paying their taxes, for example, for their employees. So I don't know about that one.
It's a difficult thing to say when like we just lost the majority of the ambulances, and like there's complaints about them not paying their employees, and we just seen the CEO say, hey, you know that money that we've been taking out, we haven't been paying it to GRS. So you know what I'm saying? Like, how you gonna try and partner with that? Like that's like me trying to partner with a gambling addict. You ain't never have no money, you ain't got no collateral for real, you're always in trouble. But let me help you help me. How?
Yeah.
That's actually the perfect example, and you're gonna have to be an asset in some way, right? Either you're an asset or a liability, right? That applies to many situations, but also hospitals. So I'm not sure how would a public-private partnership work? Where would we be an asset?
I mean, we really have to understand the state of our hospital. It's in dire despair. Me myself, I had an incident in January. In total transparency, I was shot, and I left the hospital the same night, bro, because they couldn't do anything for me. They couldn't do nothing for me.
From what I understand, they're running low on blood. People with what would be in other places minor issues are getting shipped to St. Thomas or shipped to Puerto Rico. Like, I feel like that was a setup for her, but the whole point of terrorism is for people to come visit a place that is different from home. Okay, if we build and
tourism, not terrorism at all.
I said terrorism, my bad. The whole point of tourism is for people to come visit a place that is different from home. If we build and take care of us first, the tourists, visitors will benefit as well. But things that make sense don't mesh well with VI government for some strange reason. I agree 100%. It seems common sense to me that if we make the place better for the people that already live here, other people will want to come and check it out and might want to come live there too.
Yeah, just say you can't invite people over and your house mash up in.
And you know what, too? I mean, I will say one thing that is a big asset, because I say one, say two, is I would say the employees that work at our hospitals. If you were in the States and a hospital was going through the things that, you know, Juan Luis is going through, those people would like pick up and leave. That hospital would have like 0 employees by day 2, right? So this is a really dedicated group of people that work for our hospitals and are clearly dedicated to the people. You don't get that everywhere. Keep in mind, a couple of months ago, we had a video that was circulating on TikTok with the young lady that was pregnant. I don't know if you all saw that. And the hospital worker like just would not help her, and she was going through labor.
I did see it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you do have a group of dedicated employees. That is the asset. But I mean, beyond that, the hospitals really are very much struggling. And I think it's really up to the government to really do something about it and actually fix it.
Yeah, I think that's a huge nod to our people and just the culture, the caring culture that we do have here. But you know, these people have to be compensated. They have to be made whole. You know, they're the backbone. The nurses, even our teachers too. Like we have to do a better job dealing with our essential people.
Now, I think there was more than one around the same time where there was a video where she was basically having labor inside of like the waiting room, and the lady kept asking her questions. And there was one where they like
Yes.
turned her away, and she gave birth in the truck,
Mhm.
heading home. Excellent. Well, that's another topic we may need to get in at another time. But like healthcare relating to Black women and how bad they do Black women, that's something, because it has a very high mortality rate for Black women.
That's by design. It's all by design.
To be honest, to this day, I have never told the full story of the day my daughter was born because it was that traumatic. Seriously.
Where was
Miami,
she born?
Florida. Miami.
Right. No, I know, you know, I had to talk about whatever because I don't care about my job. But I know you have a real life career with several R's. Do you want to continue on this path, or should we switch?
I heard you talking about interview styles.
Mhm.
Go with interview
Okay.
styles.
So yes, the interview style, and I know, so you seen it too. The interview style, right? Like with VLA, it was very conversational. It was very calm and, you know, cool. And then with the younger, the inexperienced ones, he seemed very confrontational. And like with Bianca especially, he even was like coaching, in my, you know, estimation. He was like feeding answers and like wanting her to respond in that way. But for me, who's interviewed not as many as Ernest, I've done a lot of interviews, and like, that's not my job. My job is not to give you the answers. It's for you to answer how you gonna answer, and for the people to see it and make their own choice. So
No, agreed. I've interviewed a couple. Well, I guess I do it for a living, right? Depositions
Exactly.
and cross-examination and all that stuff. So that's true. I almost forgot about that part. But you know, I will say you kind of approach different witnesses different ways. But definitely for the last 2 interviews this week, I think I just sat there like, why are we approaching them like they are adversarial, as opposed to the goal being to get as much information as possible out to the voters. I mean, there are so many people on the ballot, right? I don't want to hear what an interviewer's solutions are or what an interviewer thinks their answer should be. I want to hear what the person's actual answer is and move on to the next topic, because we have so many things that are on fire right now. including like the dump is like intermittently on fire, by the way, and that's not being reported. But there are so many topics that we need to hear from these people on, and so many people that are running. I want the answers, and I need you to move on. Next topic.
All right. Speaking of next topic, so the very first thing he asked was, which I think is legit, her top 3 qualifications. Check this out.
Said you're a mother, your wife, an entrepreneur, you're a community-minded person. Those matter, but they are not by themselves qualifications to write laws and oversee $1 billion government, right? You know, our budget annual is over $1 billion. What are your 3 strongest qualifications for the Senate that are not necessarily personal traits, but 3 strong qualifications, do you think?
I am able to, I would say, very organized, able to manage a small business, which is not an easy task here in the Virgin Islands. Successfully managed a small business for over 11 years. So business managers understanding, the struggles of small businesses, organized in the sense that I am able to put together, initiatives on a smaller and larger scale. And I would say my education background with psychology, helps me to work with people and different personalities.
3 strongest qualifications. Obviously, you only get experience by doing the job, so she had to kind of lean on her experience outside of what she's aspiring to. Now, from what you heard, Sosa, what do you think about her response to it? Is it something that would be like, okay, I hear you all, we could rock with that?
I maybe a bit of disconnect in what was asked and the reply. I don't know, I could be 100% wrong, but I think what the question was kind of asking was, maybe degree-wise or certifications, not necessarily so much experience, but like I said, I could be wrong. When you kind of talking about the managing a budget like what we have in our government, a small business is comparable, but not by much, you know what I mean? So, like I said, I don't draw too much off of the interview because, like I said, and you pointed out already, the aggressive style could, cause some anxiety to the person that's being interviewed as well, you know what I mean? Especially if they ain't accustomed to public speaking and things that a seasoned senator would be accustomed to, like scrutiny, for example,
True. Siobhan, how does one prepare for an interview for a job one has never had or held, or there isn't one like it? Like, either you've done the job as a legislator and created bills, or you haven't. So how do you prepare for that?
So I think what we're talking about here, this comes from like experience doing hiring, right? You're just hitting all my areas. I get to talk about the work I do doing people's resumes and stuff too. Is transferable skills. What can you bring that is value to a company, an institution, what have you? So what I'm really evaluating, for example, when I'm hiring someone or even when I'm voting for someone is, can this person think under pressure? Are they able to communicate complex ideas? Are they able to manage relationships? Can they manage their employees? Because a lot of the work that these senators do is like directing a researcher to go do blah, directing a person to call a commissioner or write a letter or what have you. So what I would say you do to prepare for the interview overall is, one, communicate your value as far as your transferable skills, what you bring from your normal life into the legislature potentially. And how do you frame your value to that organization? How do you relate what you've done prior to the legislature to what you're doing now? I think in addition to that, for candidates preparing, I would say that, like, if you have a lawyer friend, go grab them and tell them quiz you on the VI code and various statutes within the VI code. That's like a great way, because a lot of the times, to be perfectly honest, we do have a lot of law on the books. What happens in the Virgin Islands is that we don't actually enforce it. So, for example, you have an entire code regarding the environment, waste management, what they're supposed to be doing. Our dumps are not supposed to look like that, right? But they do, because at the end of the day, if you hire 2 officers to manage all of these code sections that require multiple levels of compliance, you're never going to get the compliance part of it down. You're never going to arrive at Delta. So.
Yeah. That's some great points, because especially when talking about waste management, they're actually under consent decree right now, and that's because oversight is needed on a federal level. So
what is a consent decree?
A consent decree is basically the Department of Justice, along with the Environmental Protection Agency. They walk the facilities and make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to do. For me, working on the wastewater side, that entailed making sure that the equipment that was supposed to be running is up and running, make sure I had the proper signage on all the wastewater facilities, even making sure that all the treatment, not the treatment facilities, but the pump stations were fenced with the proper signage and lighting. It's just oversight to make sure that you remain up to standard in what you're doing, and it's a very serious thing. It's also tied to funding, and at its most extreme, a federal takeover.
No, so Nai is in the comments, and she's hitting on preparation is key. This is why preparing is key. We have to prepare. Being a senator is hard work. Take a class on how to propose legislation, how to write and amend bills. My thing with this interview, though, I don't know how necessarily you prepare for an interview this controversial, this like intense, because I swear there was a part I seen she was sweating. Every time I see her touching her hair and pointing behind her ear, I was like, damn, girl. Woo, that could have been me. You're strong. I hear like, Bianca Acevedo Francis, you're a fighter. Because this was a blast.
Yeah.
Because
listen, I saw her today. She is. But you know what? She is. And I think that being community minded is important. I think we have a lot of senators that kind of get in that building and they forget that the legislation is for the people. It's for, you can't just go and like grab law from New York and say, hey, I'm going to put this in the Virgin Islands because I don't want to write a bill, right? Like, you have to actually sit down and say, does this work for the people of the Virgin Islands? And I don't think that we do enough of that. Like, a state that does, to be very frank with you, is like Louisiana. Everything is very like particular to their people, their culture, all of that.
You have to be intentional to the people, man.
Yes, for sure.
Not for the interview, for the position. No, I understand what you're saying, but like, to get to the position, you got to get through the interview. And that's what this was. So she had to be prepared.
A interview.
Huh?
A interview.
Correct.
I mean, we the people, we are the interview. That is a interview.
Correct.
Our past legislators have set a false pretense that being a senator is easy work because they've been underproductive. Right after, go ahead. Who you want to clap for? There you go. Right after this question came this one. which y'all let me know if I'm tripping. It sounded like a shot, like a little shady considering what you just asked, but here's this.
Vote against a governor's nominee from your own or your own political ally if that nominee wasn't ready?
Yes.
You would?
Yes.
What should matter more in confirmations? Relationships or qualifications?
Qualification.
Tell me why.
Because
It's obvious, but tell me why.
I mean, because qualifications is going to mean that you have, what's the tools that are needed to execute the job, where, yes, it's relationships matter because people work with those that they are close with, but you build relationships.
Yeah.
You build relationships. So qualities for me would be most important.
Okay.
Yes, man.
Who's gonna say friendships though? Like, who's gonna say friendships?
No one. Absolutely no one. It felt like a dig. I don't know. So what do you think?
I mean, like, boy, nobody can go to jail you can't prove intent, right? It's very hard to prove intent.
I can prove intent.
Esquire.
So I mean it boy. I just imagining myself there, and I think I would have had a blank stare on my face and looking at honest, like, you serious, bro?
That's what I'm saying. Like, this was a hard interview, man. Like,
yeah.
rough.
Yeah. Oh,
My face to talk. I would have just been like,
exactly.
What
like,
were you asking me to?
Yeah, I see what you're trying to do here, bro.
Now, this was in the first half of the interview, right? It got more contentious going past the 30-minute mark. So here Ernest asked her about voting for St. Croix. Remember we were talking about equity and it being equal about the fund distribution and stuff. So here is Ernest asking a question related to that.
What would you refuse to vote for unless St. Croix receives its fair share? So you're in the Senate, right? And even when Senator Villiers was here Monday, he spoke about how the Garvey bonds, for example, the Garvey bonds, right? It's basically road projects. The first measure was introduced way back when by then Senator Nellie O'Reilly, Narida. And it was a good measure, right? It's for the development of roads, right? And the last Garvey bonds, according to the senator, most of the funding went to St. Thomas, for example. I don't know, he said over 190 million, and about 25 million came to St. Croix, right? What some would argue is that you haven't seen lawmakers from the island of St. Croix who are willing to take really tough stances to say that unless St. Croix gets its fair share, we're not going to vote for this, for that. So some examples would be, I'm not going to vote for the budget bill. You know what I mean? I'm not going to vote for this particular project, the P3 project, for example. Mm-hmm. Would you be willing to hold up any major measure for St. Croix in order for St. Croix to get its fair share?
So, see, as a whole, I don't like the division, but I do. It's evident that St. Croix has been treated as the black sheep of the territory. Mm-hmm. We always get what they said, the scraps. Why I don't want to say that I will hold up anything that would move the Virgin Islands on a whole forward. Yes, my interest would be in the betterment of St. Croix because we need to see St. Croix flourishing. It's too long we've been again on the back burner of things. So I wouldn't say, it would depend. It would depend on the magnitude of it. I can't just say that I would hold anything because we're one territory. Yeah. We're one people, and that division mindset, I don't work with that. Right. But yes, St. Croix is my focal area, and I would.
Great response, by the way, great response. I thought this question was crazy. So my job that I'm trying to get is to vote and get bills passed. Your question to me is, what am I willing to vote against? in order to like.
Yeah. Well, I could understand and even appreciate the question for what it is. Just looking at what we do see on the national level, with the House and the Senate, and Democrats tying positions to government funding. This is why we've been seeing so many government shutdowns as well, because as you know, the Republicans have a hardline majority right now, and the Democrats, they can't get anything done. They're in the minority, so I could see, and I could appreciate the question for what it is. I don't know if it necessarily applies here on the local level. But what I would say is I would like to see 7 strong senators from St. Croix hold one head, regardless of political party.
What do you think about that question in the format, in the context of who he was asking, Siobhan, and like how it was presented?
It was a weird question for me, because keep in mind when you look, and one day I encourage everybody to do this actually. Go to the legislature's website, right? And you will see the calendar. The calendar shows like they have a hearing this day, like once a week. And then the rest of it says like constituent meetings and committee meetings and all that stuff, right? There are so many opportunities to sit with the authors of the bills and work on collaborating with these bills and talking about like, how are we going to word this? How are we going to split this money up? What is equitable, not equal, but equitable? It's the real work should not be happening on the floor of the legislature. The real work is supposed to happen before the bill gets to the floor. Meaning, when you don't have a hearing for the legislature, you're still at work in the building, doing the people's work, so that when it comes on the floor, we're moving. But that doesn't happen. We like to showboat. So.
Grandstanding.
Appreciate the knowledge, because a lot of people, especially me, did not know that. So thank you for that information. That's good information. This next interview, the last interview, was with Mr. Cartier. And this was by far the most contentious interview of the 3, right? And man, like, yes, he's inexperienced. It was a mix of several things. He's inexperienced, but he also has some sort of, he's not just completely on the outside, because this man was actually a executive assistant to Javon James. So he should have some sort of insight and know the people because he's been around them. Here's how he responds to Ernest's question regarding Whopper.
To receive some of that relief also.
Whopper says to you, if we don't get these funds, and if you turn them over to the community, we're going to go belly up. What's your response?
Hypothetical. Whopper has been behaving in the same manner.
It's not hypothetical. Whopper would say they need every dollar they need. It's not hypothetical.
From 1963, they've been saying they need every dollar they need. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's not a hypothetical. It's actually what they say.
It's about time. It's about time a senator stand up and say, hey, let me take a look. Let's really set some benchmarks for you. Okay.
Is he assuming that no other senator has thought to set benchmarks for WAPA before?
Not that I've seen. Now, what I have seen is the push by Kenny Gins, because Kenny Gins was Kenny was on their neck for a good 2 years, I would say. But most of his press has been towards the internal financials, from what I could see based on the fact that how many $1 million went missing because of like the Nigerian scammer and the contracts or something. But I know Kenny's been trying to get the audit. I know they did the audit, and that was most of the pressure on WAPA. But I have not, I mean, keep in mind, there was a Senate hearing where in the switch in leadership from, who was before Kupfer? Whoever was before him, it was a hearing where Janelle Saru said, can't you see that all they did was switch the cover page between what they submitted last year and this year? And then that became a whole thing. I mean, if there were actual benchmarks that were being set for WAPA, like how could that have happened? You're on mute, Joe.
Thanks. If the benchmarks get set, right, they don't meet it. Like you said before, there's an issue with enforcement. So then who enforces it? Like, you didn't meet our benchmark, now what? Isn't this that private public sector, connection we were talking about?
With
They
WAPA?
don't have, to my knowledge, any real like private public partnership necessarily. I mean, they're kind of in a weird, like quasi governmental role, sort of shit, not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, and Nye makes a great point about the accountability in the agencies. I think that we've confused the meaning of acknowledgement and accountability, because someone could say all day, hey man, it's messed up. It's like, okay. And then we go, yay, they said it's messed up. But that's not accountability. That's just them acknowledging.
Exactly. One thing that set us back that I don't think gets enough talk is the discussion around the Vital deal and the operations that they have at WAPA. All right. So there's Vital, and you also have Seven Seas Water. Seven Seas Water handles the water distribution via reverse osmosis. That's they take the seawater, intake some seawater, and run it through some ROs, and that's the water that we have. All right. I don't know why we don't have our own facilities instead of contracting out those simple jobs. That's one. Now, circling back to Vital, the public was promised a certain amount of savings. The savings never happened. Rates actually increased. All right, that project was overrun and ended up costing taxpayers way more than it should have. This was supposed to bring relief, and we ended up paying more. Well, we're using propane as a fuel. There's so much volatility in the market right now, especially with what happened in Iran. It's a tough spot to be in. We wait so long to see things work in other places before we install renewables. Like renewables been the wave for how long? You know what I'm saying? Yet we still far behind. There's no reason why. And I gonna give you a gem right here, right now. Because we talk about a landfill on fire. That landfill is on fire because it's full of methane. Methane is a burnable fuel. All right? That could be rerouted for free. Mind the landfill. That's a gem again.
No, it's true. And I mean, we talk about benchmarks, right? Because I didn't forget the second part of your question. One of the benchmarks, this is like an easy one. Like, why are we not tracking the average amount of hours or minutes that each user of WAPA experiences an outage per year, right? Like, they should have to give us that number. Because at the end of the day, I think what happens, especially when you talk about our friends, family that are in the States, they're like, oh, you're always battling about WAPA, right? We always battling about WAPA. But I think that the users, the consumers, deserve to have that number at the end of the year. How many hours was my power out this year? I could tell you this week, I think my power has been out, like it's got to be like 7-8 hours for the week. I would love to know what that number is at the end of the year. And I should receive some sort of credit for that.
That's a great point. That is a great point. Like, because how do you know if you're improving the number or the amount of time that the place is out if you're not tracking it? I didn't even consider that it's not being tracked.
And then they get to say we have less power outages. That's what they do when they have their budget hearings. We have less power outages than we had last year.
And nobody could say if it's true or not because we have
The outage map don't track it.
Not
For the
total.
Not total.
Damn, that's crazy. Hey, now you had mentioned the meter deal. It seemed like every single deal, it'll just go bad. Like the smart meter deal with Itron or Itron or whatever it's called, that went bad. And then they didn't have enough meter readers. And then if you have a meter, you need to be your own meter reader. And then
they start estimating people things. They would actually tell you their meter ain't working.
Yeah, they tell you. Yeah.
And you would get a bill. Your bill last month was $200. You get a bill for $1,200. No consumption changing. You gone into WAPA gonna tell you, oh, you were estimated for that month. Well, what the hell does that even mean? How do you estimate and then give me a bill for 6 times the amount? Your estimation should have looked at all my previous reads and come up to an average and charge me that if that's the case.
True.
You know?
And honestly, that was the one benchmark they were tracking is how many people are you doing pure estimations on? I don't know if you remember that. And they were having to report that every year as an actual number. So you see that number start to decrease every year. They order the new meters and all that. But it's like until you actually get them to commit to a number, that is the number, and then they have to actually report on that, you're going to have a problem.
Correct.
I says estimation is illegal. Is that true, Siobhan? Is that correct?
Should be.
Should be.
Legislators need to get on that.
Okay. All right, so here's Mr. Cartier. On this next clip, we have Mr. Cartier. He's asked a question because remember we were talking about agriculture and the pay, and maybe we need St. Croix to invest more in agriculture. Here's his solution.
Now.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. So when for me for farming, that's one of my that's like number 2 on my list.
Well, you say you want to invest in local agriculture. That's what you say.
Absolutely.
And expand access for growers, according to you. What exactly do you do?
What we do.
How do you get it done?
Simple. We plant. We have farmland.
Mm-hmm.
We expand.
Nigga, what? It's simple. Plant. Why didn't we think of that, Mr. Cartier?
No, but why? No, let's seriously ask though, right? Why didn't we think of that? Like, okay, so for example, with disaster recovery, what Mr. Brown was saying the other week is you have all of these monies that are spent to make buildings stronger and all this other stuff, right? But then with the disaster recovery, agriculture is never a part of that. Like that whole idea of preparing for an emergency does not include helping farmers and like actually getting food in the ground. Like we don't do it, like we literally can say the names of all of our farmers on St. Croix. We should have way more than that if we were if St. Croix was originally the breadbasket of the Caribbean. Now you can't even pull anything in a basket. It's not even feeding us.
Facts.
You're taking a walk?
Everything getting imported. He gone back to his original spot again.
Yeah. Hey, listen, right? I being somebody that has, went through the process of obtaining, a farmer's license and all of that. There are government parcels, that waiting list is astronomical, to get a piece of property to plant on, if you don't have your own, of course. With that being said, there are so many parcels that farmers have been awarded by the Department of Agriculture that aren't necessarily in use right now. And what we need to do is revisit all those leases, and if somebody had an acre, bust it down into 8 pieces and give 8 fresh people a chance to do something, whether it's livestock, whether is something, you know what I mean? Because I just feel like too long we just have our old ways, and we need to streamline some of these processes, you know what I mean?
I do agree, though. If there's that's another benchmark thing, right? I mean, what is the actual productivity that you're getting off of this land?
Right.
I don't want to say productivity because it sounds really rough, but if you're not actually getting anything off of the land, then pass it to the next young person that could possibly do something with it. I mean,
yeah, a lot of families here on St. Croix grandfathered in and have acres upon acres, and I sure all ain't there in use, you know what I mean? Free up something, man.
But does the family want to take on the responsibility? That's another issue that I've been seeing, because we have the brain drain, and we have these younger folks, they want to leave because they feel like there's nothing there for them. And then there's the lack of investment. So I really didn't understand where that whole, it's simple, just plant, just expand. What?
No, you got
I take that as cut the red tape on the process. That's what I hear. We always, it's for example, you talked about the fact that there's a waiting list. Keep in mind that we don't have enough food on this island to feed people. There's a waiting list for land to grow food, and the government is the one that is doing that, when we're literally in a situation where fuel prices are getting to the point where food, someone could just say, I don't feel like bringing a tanker to the Virgin Islands. I don't want to spend the money to put that tanker to go to the Virgin Islands. I'm just not gonna send it. Then what?
Yeah, look what happening right now with water spirit and the grounding of water spirit.
Exactly.
That put a little strain on us. The price is gonna be rising. Our food bank is non-existent. You know what I mean? So all those are things that we can make major waves in.
Not to mention, we've lost a substantial amount of locally owned grocery stores. Don't argue with me. I don't want to get into the argument about who local and who isn't. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean, Devin. Jerica says, I think we need to get into community gardening. Each community.
We already community argue.
Each community focus on a certain set of produce, and we trade with other communities who focus on something else. That's a real community initiative. Does the community want to get out there in the hot sun and garden for real?
That's a better system. I am definitely interested in some livestock. I don't eat no meat, you know what I mean? But I interested in raising some goats, some cattle, some different things. Yeah. I want to build an extensive chicken farm. I want to sell whole chicken. I want to sell eggs. I want, you know what I mean? I want to do that.
All right, Farmer Sosa. Okay, out here.
But that's what I'm talking about, right? You could literally have someone that's motivated, and the government, because there's so many processes and you gotta go poop in a cup, and then after that you gotta you know what I mean? By the time you're done with the process, you're just I ain't doing nothing.
I mean, my vision, I will go and have a whole little storefront because we ever needed to get slaughtered by the abattoir, and that's another thing. We don't even know if the abattoir up and running. That's another
Right.
function to it. But just having a farmers market for live, for well, it ain't gonna be live, but for fresh produce. When I say fresh produce, I'm talking livestock, like the eggs in freezers, chicken legs, whole chickens, goat, everything in there. You come, you pick it up, and you go about your business. You know what I mean?
I like it. We got one last clip, and this one pretty much sealed the deal for me. I think he spoke his mind, and I read it deeper into it. Obviously, the problem with reading deep into things, you can be wrong. So I'm gonna let you guys be the judge of this next clip.
They could buy whatever. That is not the case for most Virgin Islanders.
That is not the case.
That is not the case for
95% of our
Okay, all right, and single parents.
That's why I'm running.
And that's why I want the answers. They want the answers.
And I feel that I'm offering up enough information.
I feel you should, all candidates should offer up the information to make it clear.
Well, this is politics, okay? This is not you and me joining together and saying, hey, we're gonna open up this business and we're gonna make money. So you're gonna listen to me and I'm gonna listen to you, and we're gonna come together and we're gonna dot the T's and cross the I's, or cross the T's and dot the I's. It's not that. You've been here for a while. You know this.
Yeah.
So there's certain information you give and certain information you don't. And you give gradually. Listen, there's so many things that we could do in the legislature for the farmers.
At this point in the interview, for context, Ernest was done. Like, throughout the interview, you could hear him. I had on earbuds and I could hear, you know what I'm saying? Like he
created
tired.
his own exasperation. I don't feel for him.
So he was really annoyed by the lack of real straightforward answers, and like, I'm working on it and we doing this, but I don't want to tell you right now. And that was the whole interview. By this time, Ernest was done. And that's how he responds with, this is politics. Now, with me saying this, the most contentious interview, if you have not watched it, go watch it. You tell me. What did you think about this part where he was like, listen, we want the answers? And him basically, you can't handle the truth. Talk to me.
You know what, though? Just this week, was it this week or last week, on Facebook, there was like a literal, like someone grabbed someone else's flyer and put it on their page and didn't take off the senator's, the original person's name from it. And it was like, geez, so we're just like grabbing stuff off of people's pages and not even reading it, and they were posting it looked like, as their own. And I think I understand, you do all of this work to come up with ideas, and then they literally get taken from right under you. Because keep in mind, like the way I'm thinking of it, you have a really large pool for the legislature, an extremely large pool for the legislature, right? For me, if somebody says an idea that I said 2 months ago, you ain't gonna remember that it was me that said it 2 months ago. And you're gonna look at that person who has no ideas and say, oh my goodness, they're so smart. Then what?
I feel you on the copycat thing, because the copycat thing is a real epidemic in the VI.
You had a copycat event, so you should know, John.
Listen. I gonna play devil's advocate here for a minute, because like I said, you can't always prove intent, and I think when God sends a message to one of his messengers and it's not acted upon, sometimes the message gets resent to somebody else as well. Now, I am not saying that people don't be copycats, and imitation is the greatest form of flattery, they say. So if that's the case, my brother Ja, just be flattered.
That's easier said than done when you're in the moment. You check what I'm saying, and with VI people.
How did you feel when your event was taken from you and done by
Here's
someone
the
else?
thing. It pissed me off because, right, we could have collaborated. That'll be my problem. Me, I'm always down to collab. I love them. I'm always collabing with somebody, and if we had got together, we could have brought both ideas together, made it bigger than what both were separately, and everybody would have won. But why would you take my idea? Then the thing that really, if you don't do it immediately, like if you say it and don't do it, then I will figure out and do it before you even.
Gone.
I about to scroll your page just now to see what I
This a little bit ago, but yeah. She said,
Notice he hasn't said he's forgiven a soul.
Hey,
that has to be. I know that's how it feels when you come up with an idea and you sit there somewhere and someone else says it and you're like, what the? You know, like I've had that happen to me before from a person that I know couldn't come up with a new idea to save their life.
I telling you.
No.
I see them in the comments actually giving pointers on how to grow time. I think that's dope because
I
time
love to
is
see it. It's cool. No,
yeah,
I understand.
Man.
But this is an interview we're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
how do you come on an interview and not share anything for people that you want to vote for you? You have to be able to walk that line, and he did not walk that line.
Well, he said something that kind of annoyed me too when, talking about business and politics. Anybody that ain't trying to get into office and run this thing like a business, I kind of weary of you know what I mean? Because to me, that should be the one of the things you're trying to do is trying to run the government like a business. Because we are trying to generate funds. We are trying to get out of the red, are we not?
I think of it more as running a household, though, than running a business. Because with a household, you're trying to do what's best for everyone under your roof. Yes, you're trying to generate income, but it's to do things that benefits everyone in the house. With a business, you have a CEO that's caring about possibly the profits and the shareholders and like the employees making less, even though they do majority of the work. I see it as
but how does a business sustain though? A business has to sustain by pleasing the majority. You try and please everybody in the house. That ain't necessarily politics, bro.
Netflix ain't pleasing me right now. Amazon ain't pleasing me. I pay $99 a year. I ain't getting nothing. What? Walmart pleases me. They don't even have cashiers. I working for them when I go on self-checkout. Hell nah. I don't know that. I don't know about that one.
I think we could use more of a business though, because like, for example, with your household example, like, would you put benchmarks in place? I mean, I do occasionally with my child, but like, we don't put benchmarks like that in place in a household versus a business. KPIs, ROIs,
Exactly.
benchmarks, all of those things are a normal part of running a business. And our government has been without that for too long. Everything is literally like, it'll fix itself.
Yeah.
Just go pray. Everything will be fine.
Yeah.
No.
It's Juve. It's either you're going or you ain't going.
I don't know if that's true that we don't set benchmarks in our homes. If you married, right? Your children, they gotta bring home report cards. They gotta do a certain level of the chores that they do. You measuring that. Your husband or your wife, you measuring how they're doing for you and the family same way. Like when woman saying, "Oh, he ain't," why? It's because you don't measure him and he come up nil.
In this age, a gentle parenting, children basically doing what you want.
And I don't know nine gentle Caribbean parent. I ain't met one yet.
Gentle parenting Wapa from long.
You
Lots
got
of
him.
gentle parenting for Wapa.
True.
It's okay.
At this point, the voters are looking for solutions, not hidden ideas. I post mine all the time on social media via my articles. Big up yourself, Jazz. They get teeth. I'm sure they get stolen, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing is it's fine to have an idea, right? Boom, you could have an idea, but what? And this is kind of where I agree with Honest a bit when he was asking about identifying funding sources, because if there's one thing we know is that we operate in a deficit, you know. So identifying funding sources and Jazz, I respect Jazz. I don't know how come she run for Senate herself, but like her, and we have had these discussions. I have written my own legislations as well. You know, I have legislations to revamp GERS because in my mind, I don't think government employees need to be losing 15 to 20% of their paycheck to cover up for years of mismanagement. You know what I mean? I don't think that should be on the employees' back. And when I wrote that legislation, my funding source was legalizing sports gambling and actually having a bid process for exclusivity from DraftKings, from all the big FanDuel, all of them. Let them come here in the Virgin Islands, and you want exclusive rates to operate here. This is what you're gonna bid on it. You're going, you know what I mean? And we're gonna take this money, and annually you're gonna also put some money here, and there.
All right, we might do that on another show. Well, we're about to get into the skunt of the week. Siobhan, really appreciate you coming through and sharing your expertise. I know you have a lot of plates spinning in the air and you wear a lot of hats, so we really thank you for taking time out to come and share your expertise with us.
Of course.
Do you have any final words you want to leave the people with? No?
Just remember, when it's a holiday weekend, stay out of trouble. The judge doesn't get in until Tuesday.
All right. You have a good rest of your day. We're going to get into the skunt of the week. Appreciate it again. Bye. Peace. All right. This is what you've been waiting for, sir. No further ado. We went through all the interviews and things. All right. Here we go.
I don't know everything.
What is a skunt like fuck?
What you saying? What you saying, sir?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Audio gone again.
Oh, God. Leave out. Hey.
Come back.
All right. So we're about to get into the skunt of the week. I don't know. We have a runner-up also on the list. But I want listen, whatever I'm about to say, right? This is not anything personal towards the person. It's just that this week we're a skunt. That's what this is about. All right. So the MS of the week goes to Mr. Judge John Hope. So, Mr. Judge John Hope, right? Like they said, you're muted, just so you know. All right, you can hear me?
Yeah, I was glad I was muted just
All right, so we were talking about the election cycle. It's been very shady, like this shady post from the plastic camp, because their competition for the gubernatorial race, their power went out in the middle of their official announcement ceremony. And plastic powder post, imagine you run the government, but can't keep the power on during your announcement. That's just say all you need to know about what voting Roach Francis will get you. She couldn't wait to take that opportunity. And quite frankly, I don't even blame her.
Nah, I don't either. To me, that the people call it nasty politics. I found humor in that, you know. I think it would have been even better if Francis them had a good reply.
Yeah, but what can you say? What can you really say to that? Day? You're talking about what you're gonna do for WAPA while one of you already in. The next one is a lieutenant governor, and your power getting cut.
I
All
think
right,
I'm been getting some blows lately with that power thing. It's
for
like as
sure.
carnival done, it's like yeah, okay, we dead now.
So you can't tell me. Anyway, we don't talk about it. The 2026 election field is already shifting. Just days after filing closed, as supervisor of elections, Carolyn Fox said several aspirants have been disqualified for failing to meet nomination requirements under Virgin Islands law. Reached by phone Tuesday night, Fox said the most recent disqualification involved Jed John Hope, who, after expressing interest in a bid for governor, ultimately filed to run for delegate to Congress. Candidates for offices elected territory-wide must submit nomination papers signed by at least 100 qualified electors from each of at least 2 election districts. Folks said John Hope did not meet that requirement, noting that his filing fell short of the district-based signature threshold. He fell very short, and he still showed up right before closing. Let that sink in, okay? The latest action follows earlier disqualifications involving former Senator James Weber III and gubernatorial aspirant Roy Sheridan. All right. So now after they announced this, and the man had a total of, I think, 32 or 33 signatures for 2 districts where he needed
out of 200.
He only had 3 in the district of St. Croix where he resides.
Where he live.
He showed up with the paperwork showing this many signatures, knowing he needs 200. Then he makes this post. Last week, I made the difficult but necessary decision to pivot from a gubernatorial run to a congressional run after my intended lieutenant governor candidate withdrew at the last minute due to concerns about political and professional retaliation against his family. There are rumors that his lieutenant governor pick never agreed. But I digress. While disappointing, this moment has only deepened my understanding of the challenges facing our community and strengthened my resolve to fight for meaningful change in the Virgin Islands. Too many people in our territory live under a cloud of fear when it comes to politics and public engagement. Remember this one. Too many people in our territory live under a cloud of fear when it comes to politics and public engagement. No Virgin Islander should feel that supporting a candidate speaking their mind,
Wow.
or participating in democracy could threaten their livelihood or the well-being of their family.
Wow.
Yet this fear is real and it
see
speaks to a
that
deeper
post.
issue within the structure of our government and political culture. The Virgin Islands deserves a government that empowers its people, not one that concentrates power in ways that discourage independence, dissent, and civic participation. Our current system traces back to the Organic Act, a framework created in a very different era and designed to centralize authority under a single naval commander. It is long past time to modernize our system of governance and build a structure better suited for a modern democracy. We are not subjects to be ruled. We are citizens deserving of transparency, accountability, opportunity, and a government that answers to the people. The experience has not discouraged me. Quite the opposite. It has solidified my commitment to entering VI politics this year and serving our community with honesty, courage, and independence. The need for reform, balance, and empowerment of the people has never been clearer. For me, that journey now begins in Washington. This is not the reason he's the skunt of the week. He's not the skunt of the week because he's currently in a dispute over overcharging. He charged $80,000 to a business for a stay in St. John. This ain't because of that. It ain't because of this. It ain't because he showed up to the elections with 170 less signatures than he needed.
170.
It's because of what he did next. So, a political satire page named VI 340 Comics, which rags on every politician when they do dumb stuff, ragged on him. Jed lost hope, decides to do this. And while we are on the topic of election interference, let's talk about the clowns at VI 340 Comics, who are clearly being used as pawns by this administration. Mind you, they clown Govey and Humpty Dumpty and everybody else. They continue to chime in on public issues while hiding behind the cloak of anonymity. Last week, they gave us their opinion on the racetrack issue, pushing narratives without ever having to stand publicly behind their words. There is a big difference between satire and accountability. If you want to influence public opinion, shape political discourse, and attack individuals or positions on matters that impact the people of the Virgin Islands, then at some point you should be willing to own your voice. Anonymous political commentary has become the perfect tool for operatives who want to throw rocks and hide their hands. Also, you're not satire for the people. If the current governor loves and shares everything you post, satire is supposed to push for change. Political satire is something that has been going on since there were newspapers.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely correct. I think it was the Island Melee we had around here, and the Island Melee used to depict people in cartoon forms and do their things as well.
All that this is saying when he put in the part about the governor is that the governor can take a joke. That's all that you're saying.
Correct.
And
Correct.
mind you, this man said, too many people in our territory live under a cloud of fear when it comes to politics and public engagement. Right?
Yeah.
You should be able to speak
Yeah.
your mind. What does he do
Yeah.
next? He
Okay,
literally
man, that's
docks the page,
Yep.
gives
That's
out people
crazy.
address
That's
because you don't
crazy.
like a cartoon.
It's one thing I must say, this season is one of revelations. People reveal themselves without trying at times, and I think in all transparency, Jet is somebody that I went to school with from elementary. You understand? And I'll tell it to your face, like, you were wrong, and you deserve this award that has been bestowed upon you, partner. So it's yeah, you should. Sometimes you gotta know when to leave things alone, when to have that emotional intelligence and not climb up certain trees. You know what I mean? We tend to look for attention, and then when we get an in the attention that we want, we kind of upset. So we should just kind of stop the attention seeking on a whole, in my opinion.
I mean, albeit, if you're running for political office, you do need to get the attention. But you need a thick skin if you're gonna run for office, man.
Correct. You cannot reply to every skeleton that's drag out your closet, whether it's true or not. You know what I mean? Like, this is what it is. This is the arena. Nobody. You're trying to get the majority of people to agree with you, to see your views, and to back you. You ain't trying to get everybody.
Exactly.
So now these people that have their own political views or have their own agenda, that's what actually makes it fun. That's what makes it a fun experience. You know what I'm saying? People having that freedom to express themselves and support or not support who they want. Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know the guy. I only when I first saw his video, I looked through his page, and the page it didn't look official. Like it just came off like I decided to run, and I gonna just keep using whatever I had on there. From the time I see this profile picture, I know this man was not serious. You doing too much frolicking, my boy. Ain't nobody gonna vote for you.
He doing too much. What he doing?
He doing too much frolicking. What? I love Black Boy Joy, but that's too much.
Yeah. Hey, listen. Sometimes we don't tend to strike goal on social media sometimes and think that everything gonna be goal. Because I can remember he do a video where his first line was my good friend Papito, and they call him Papi Show or something in reference to the governor, after the governor made reference to his 20 likes on Facebook or something like that. And that banter there, that back and forth, it was entertaining. It actually gave him some attention and publicity because I could remember from after that happened, I see him on doing radio interviews all over. You know what I mean? So I
So you
just say that to say like the arena is the arena. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
yeah. And either you're ready to swim with the sharks or you're not. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like that's the game. You volunteered.
Exactly.
Nobody told you to. Nobody made you get into it. This isn't
Hmm.
by force.
Yeah, you chose this.
Yeah, the man palinki and he payasing and the people are internet. And the people are internet. And he changed the page around to like make it look official and I didn't think he was serious.
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes, and I will say this: when you are a new political aspirant, it is a great idea to surround yourself with people that have done it already, not necessarily yes men. People who actually believe in you and could tell you like, yo, this ain't a good move. And some of them I don't even think need to have access to their social media. They should have a team that handles their media relations.
Facts. I agree. They need to just, you need to change. Something needs to change with how you address the public. You can't just keep going the same way you've been going because that won't get you elected. Like you gotta switch up, you gotta get serious. I wanna see a serious dude. I wanna see this.
This man mouth open, boy.
All right. So speaking of seeking attention and regretting that they found it, we have a runner-up.
Yes, what is a skunt like fuck?
This week. So here's the Skunt of the Week runner-up, provided by King Sosa himself. I'm gonna let you tell us about this one, man.
Hey, we'll bring it up, my son. This was Miss Shammy Wilkins. She decided that it was in her best interest to expose a young man who came in her DMs, And I found this message to be very respectful, So I commented on it and I said, what he do wrong? And her reply to my comment was, he come in my DMs early morning with stupidness, And I was like, oh, so being respectful and calling you beautiful is stupidness. Got it. You know what I mean? With a heart emoji and, the reactions to my comments were blowing up. And I went to look at the comment to see if any more action were happening. And it was gone. It vanished. But somebody did the Lord's work and screenshotted it because it was very ridiculous. The comments behind it, bro, like people were saying, maybe you're not used to this kind of attention because there's no reason for you to try to out-partner. And it just goes back to the attention seeking and the clout chasing we'll be doing sometimes, in my opinion. We gotta be very careful, VI Facebook ain't a very forgiving place. They will let you have it.
For sure. Well, real quick, up to your top, I guess, right? Somebody left. I got the poll up, right? If y'all could go ahead and vote in the comments just by hitting 1 for yes or 2 for no. Was she wrong to post my boy? Was she wrong to post him and like try and clown him? Because she posted, as you can see, who does send these people to bother me? Sorry to bother. The man say he's sorry to bother you. You check? Like, he said sorry to bother you. He called you beautiful. Then he called you queen. Are you single?
Get put on blast. He asks the right questions. He asks you if you say, man, don't have ask woman if they're single right now because they ain't even looking for no relationship really and truly. The fact that this man respected you, apologized before even encroaching, and you still blast him, like what we could do? How
Yeah.
I need to know how it's done. Like, how do you approach? I'm a single man, and I'd really like to know how
I
how do
said
you
don't.
approach a woman today?
Just don't. That's
I'm
what it's seeming
telling
like.
you.
It's seeming
I'm
like we
telling you.
should, because listen, there's no other way more respectful than why he just do that. I can't
Mhm.
think of one.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe they want him lead with a cash up. If he had cash up like $50,
You're right.
and you
You're
know,
right. I
don't
forgot
know.
about that. I forgot about that option. On top of that, even if he in other people's DMs saying the same thing, he's still respectful, and it honestly isn't that deep. Then she went and slandered a man and said that the page was fake. So now he's a fake person.
No, no, you fake and disrespectful.
Damn.
I
And
tell
he
you.
says sorry to bother.
Sorry to
Who
bother.
even talks like that?
Yeah. I said I saw a comment like that serves you right for lying. That one floored me.
She says a fake page. Like what? And then I get in DMs because I shared it. And like he ain't fake. Like I don't care, but okay.
Darren said if he slide in DMs, he ask information for it.
How?
Oh, I know what I look like.
Yeah, explain
What
that
I
one.
look
Then.
like.
How the- Explain that one, then, please. If I slide in DMs, I ask him permission. How? How do you do that? Without sliding in the DM, how you do that?
Like on her status, you post on her page.
Explain. Explain. Why you just said, just sell it. Please, just sell it and done. Let's stop playing. Just sell it and done.
Transactional. If it's transactional, you know.
That's all it is. If you get, you see, we could have skipped all of that. He wouldn't have had to ask if she got man or none of that. Are you selling it?
And then he'd get blasted. For sure.
Ain't nothing the man could do. Like, but if it was that cash app, what's your cash app, babe? Okay, that's how you start the conversation.
Yeah, that's how we gotta start the conversation. We gotta lead with insecurities into this climate, bro. That's
Darren,
crazy.
you're not sliding. Please tell us. I'll ask if it's okay in her DM. You done sliding the DMs, bro. All right.
What a DM that said, Darren, is this okay? Question
Is this
mark,
cool?
question mark.
Oh boy, Darren, you need to make a post for this one. All right, it's been a great show. Appreciate you,
Yes, sir.
DT, man. Do you want to tell the people about the collab that we got going on, or it's too soon?
Yes. Check us out. June 18th. It's the Mothers and Mentors Mixer. It'll be at the Kanagata Bypass Annex, starting at 6 p.m. We're going to have some entertainment. We're going to have a cash bar. We're going to also have some discussion surrounding our kids, our children, our future leaders, what we could do as a community to move them forward. Ja is a guest panelist, along with some other exciting folks. Everybody has a story or works in the industry that affects our children, you know. So we're gonna talk about what we're seeing here in our community and you know what we could do to try to right this ship, because for me what I'm seeing is a lot of the behavioral issues, you know, stem from insecurities, one, lack of emotional intelligence, two, and a lack of communication skills. When you can't really communicate what you're feeling and going through, you know, it transcends in your behavior. And for me, some of those things I ain't learned until a grown man. So if we could instill some of these properties, some of these character traits into our young men coming up, I think we can start to right the ship. If we could teach them, you know, how to deal with rejection and things like this, I think we'll see a drop in the domestic violence numbers. I think it all correlates, you know, and that's why I'm so passionate about this, and it's purposeful and God-given.
All right, guys. June 18th. Mark your calendars. The Mothers and Mentors Mixer. Is it free? You know they love that. Is it free?
Yeah, man, it's free.
Okay.
Just call me Island Chic. You know, dress up a little thing. Look, we gonna be a little dress up too. You know, so we want to present ourselves the right way. No cut off jeans and slippers and G-man and them thing. You know what I mean? Come with some ideas. Come ready to engage in some discussions. Come ready to meet the mentors of the brotherhood. Come ready to learn about the program and what we're going to be offering to the community.
All right, you heard it there first. I can't wait. I cannot wait to be a panelist. Hey, I'm excited. I thought it was going to be about Juneteenth, which I was ready to talk about the ancestors, but I'll talk about whatever. That's cool. I can't wait, man, because I am passionate about our young men
and you have a interesting stance. This is why I asked you to be a part of it, and you know, I'm gonna ask you to be a bit vulnerable, bro.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
All right. Any final words for the audience?
Live in love, live in your purpose, live in your truth. Don't be swayed, especially in this political season. Do your research, stay true to who you are, and everything gonna be blessed.
Awesome. Hey, it's been a dope episode. Thank you, Siobhan. If you're still watching, thank you for coming through. Appreciate you, DT. Can't wait for the 18th when the flyer drops. You don't know I'm gonna be posting it everywhere as possible.
For sure.
And as for me, I just want to say, hey, go ahead and get outside, touch some grass. Living is for the living, man. Go outside and do something. Sometimes you gotta just say F walk. You know what I'm saying? Like, take some mental health days, ground yourself, go outside and get off social media, because that thing is depressing. Follow us on Instagram at Same Difference 2022 and or on TikTok at Same_Difference_pod. The YouTube, where you can watch the full episodes, are at VI_very_own. Remember, we're here every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. Remind me to cuss out Nisi for canceling last minute. Go ahead and share the live. Let people know about A Different Day with John Nisi. We appreciate you guys, man. That's it for us. We out. Peace.